Welcome, everyone. SSBills Talk. Lawrence Foster here alongside Dr. Dungan. Been a few weeks, but we are back, ready to roll.
Boom.
Closing in on July.
Nailed it.
A month until training camp. So, Dr. D, how's it going?
Super. Been looking forward to this all day.
All right. And so has everyone else who's been missing us the last few weeks. So it's a time of year everyone thinks kind of dead time, but we've seen things happen last few weeks that maybe are unexpected. So we wanted to take those things that happened around the NFL and kind of look at it through a Bills lens. So the first thing we're talking about will be about regarding like if retirement. The Lions had a surprise retirement with their starting center, one of their better players, leader on their team, Frank Ragnow, retiring. The Jets this week had C.J. Mosley call it a career as well.
Yeah.
Kind of at the point in the year where probably teams don't expect players to be throwing in the towel. So we wanted to go and look at who would have the biggest impact outside of Josh Allen, because that's obviously clear-cut number one. But Bills players would provide the worst, dang, he's retiring, we're kind of screwed type thing. We'll give a couple on offense and defense, so we'll get the ball rolling with you. Like, who's a offensive guy that they're like, yeah, I'm done, would kind of throw a wrench in the Bills' plans?
Offensive guy. Well, I mean, so like when I thought about this, I was thinking like, guys that legitimately could, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't thinking, dude who's 26, 27 years old, but now more than ever, when they start hitting late 20s sometimes, but early 30s, it's, they just decide, you know what, my body's had enough. I've made enough money. And so on offense, I think someone who would unravel, I mean, again, outside of Josh, unravel the whole team would be Dion. He's 31 years old. Still, for an offensive lineman, especially left tackles, many have shown they can be elite into their mid to late 30s. Think of Andrew Whitworth. They were still begging him to come back, even, and this is about 37, 38 year season. Trent Williams, later 30s, still playing at a high level, but him being 31. We rely on him so much as the anchor, as Josh's protector, as one of the better left tackles in the NFL. And Josh is a guy that you don't have to worry about if he just all of a sudden said, hey, I'm calling it quits. I mean, I look at our roster, and then other than potentially sliding Spencer Brown over there, I don't think we have a solution on our roster right now.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. That would be the first choice. So, like, you pretty much covered why. And Dion is an elite tackle in the league. He's not just like some. Like, we've had like Cordy Glenn was a good left tackle, not elite, but Dion is all pro, and so he's recognized around it. So he would be really, really bad. I agree. So I'm going to try. I was going to pick Dion, so I will not copy what you did. I think Shakir, if he because think about all the hits that he takes with like him being a bowling pin. Like if he had concussion problems, like those are good reasons for players to retire. I think he not being there would be a big problem for the Bills offense. Thinking about what he does, he's Josh's security blanket. When he just catches the ball, he makes things happen. Losing him, I think, would be a really big blow. The everybody eats mentality, but there's certain players that Josh just looks to, and he's one of them that, I know where he's going to be. I know what he's going to do. I get him the ball, and he's gone, and, he's an elite slot receiver. So I don't think anybody on the roster, you mentioned Dion, I don't see anybody doing what he could do in his position. So he would be a guy that I would think we'd kind of be in trouble if we didn't have Shakir. All of a sudden call it a career.
100%. I mean, if it's a third and short, third and medium, and we have to have it, Josh is going to try to force it in there because, if nothing else, the dude as sure-handed as they come, right? I mean, he had very few drops, 1, 2 all year, and heavy. And this is for a guy who's heavy volume, contested catches. He's running through the middle of the field in a tight window, and so he's getting Josh's heat. And he just doesn't drop the ball. So yeah, many of drives would have died if we didn't have Shakir. But I think the good thing, though, Lawrence, is the fact that if we look at our team, those are like the only two. Yeah, I mean, like Josh is so good that he raises the level of every other of the receivers and tight ends. So even if Keon couldn't, or Palmer couldn't, or whatever, we just get another guy, and Josh would make it work. Dion would be a huge loss, but if Spencer Brown couldn't go, I mean, we saw last year, for which I forget the name of the lineman. He's a dude that we usually bring in for the sixth one, but like he came in and played for him, and it was fine because you have Josh, who, even if the line doesn't block well, I mean, let's be honest, like we took the fewest sacks in the NFL, and some of it is due to the offensive line, but an enormous part of it, and I would argue is the bigger part, is that Josh Allen doesn't get sacked. Like, he has the arm strength and the mobility and just the pocket awareness to get out of trouble. Like, everyone praises Mahomes for his pocket awareness, but like, to me, Josh is second to none. I mean, he rarely is confused and doesn't know what happens or is happening. So, yeah, again, I think that's a good thing with the fact that we look at our offense, and there's really only two guys that, if they weren't there, again, outside of Josh, if they weren't there, the team is that much worse.
Yeah, and I think what Dion does is, it's funny, they were talking about the ranking offensive lines on a show I listened to, and talked about how Dion, they don't have to help him. He's an island guy. And you think about, like, sure, they could get, I don't even remember him ever being hurt where he had to like play significant without him.
No.
So like, but imagine how that changes things. And now we have to slide things over to a position they haven't had to do in 5 or 6 years, because Dion can handle anybody one-on-one.
Yeah.
And you saw, like, the 2 times Mahomes has not won a Super Bowl, it's because his offensive line just got absolutely ravished by the defense.
Mm-hmm.
So like, Dion is, I think, offense, defense, special teams, outside of Josh, the most important player because he does it, and the casual fan doesn't realize it because he's doing what he's supposed to do. It's not like he's sucking like the Chiefs tackle Taylor, who's offsides and doing all the stuff he does. Dion does his job, and so yeah. I don't have anyone else on offense that I think, like you said, we wouldn't be able to overcome the injury to.
And I'll say one more thing to his credit is the fact that, I've heard J.J. Watt talk about the fact that, like, in the first drive or two, he said that they usually let the best defensive linemen move along the line to test the offensive linemen to see, like, okay, who's struggling today, because that's where you're going to put your best defensive linemen. And I got to tell you, I rarely see the top tier guys go against Dion, and I can't help but think it's because he would neutralize them, right? Like, Chris Jones lines up all over the offensive line, or the defensive line. He doesn't line up against Dion. When it played these Steelers, TJ Watt isn't going against Dion. Nick Bosa didn't go against Dion all that much. And I think, again, that's to his credit, is that they recognize he's that good, so they stay away from him.
Yep. So Dion, well paid, well compensated, top notch. So defensively, I think there's a few here that could be troublesome if they call it, hey, I'm done. They pull a Vontae Davis, and be like, peace, when they least expect it to.
Yeah.
So who you got defensively that is, oh my God, he retired on defense?
I mean, I think for me, it was easy because we saw what life is like when Matt Milano's not in there. right? We see the fact that, we lose his run stuffing ability. We lose his pass coverage. We lose his silent leadership. I think the defense just plays better in general when he's on the field. And there's been a couple times over the last few years where he's missed a considerable amount of time, and it sucks every time. Now, granted, it's usually he's coupled with other guys also missing at the same time. But again, you have somebody who I think he's 30 or is about to turn 30. Frankly, I believe this is his last year in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And we don't have maybe Dorian Williams could step up. He'll be in his third year, and he's played a considerable amount of time. But again, Milano he just does everything for us. That if he just said, you know what, I'm done, or if he got hurt, I think that would really hurt our defense in a big way.
Yeah, and he kind of showed he was back at the end of last year in that Chiefs game. It was like a third down, and Mahomes is scrambling out, going to get, and then Milano just chases him down and tackles him before he gets to the first.
Mm-hmm.
That's, like you said, Dorian's fast, but he doesn't have the instincts that Milano does.
Right.
So hopefully the last year in Buffalo, for his sake and ours, it's a healthy year for the first time in what it will be 3 years. He balls like he should. When he does, he's an all-pro. Then either we can franchise him and keep him, or he gets his bag and goes somewhere else.
Yep.
So, that's a good one. I think we can go more than too deep on this. I'm going to go Christian Benford. We saw what happened to him, to the Bills defense when we lost him last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's better behind him, but everybody would be pushed up to that point where the defense is significantly worse if he calls it a career.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like he had 2 concussions last year. So nowadays players are like, dude, that head thing is a real big quandary for them to deal with. But Harrison moving up to one, like Trey White as a start, like that's not as good as Benford and Hairston, Benford and White. So him getting hurt would be a big downgrade to the team. Not hurt, retiring would be really, really bad. Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, people like he's one of those guys where if you look at just his stats, because people that don't know the team are like, oh, he doesn't have a ton of picks. There's a reason why he doesn't have a ton of picks, right? He gets the Richard Sherman, the Darrelle Revis, when Jalen Ramsey used to be in an elite corner, he gets that kind of treatment now because he's that good. No one's open, and if you throw it at him, he's probably going to pick it off or at least tip it up in the air. And frankly, him not being there, I think, is the reason why we didn't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. 100%. That's definitely a solid one. I mean, yeah, you're right. Like on defense, there is so many guys that like on each level we have an elite player. I could go back to a lot, but I mean, you look on the defensive line. I think Groot.
Yes.
Given the fact that he's I think an above average pass rusher, an excellent run defender, and the run defense is where we struggle. I mean, we struggle in both areas. I feel like on defense, there's so many guys for which if they're not there, and the unfortunate thing is we've seen a lot of life without a lot of these dudes. So it isn't just we think we'd be worse. We have tangible data that says we would be way worse if they weren't around.
Yeah, Groot's the only defensive lineman I would say, especially with the resources put in this year. I think everyone else we could be fine without. But like Groot, like you said, he doesn't have the numbers like Benford doesn't sack wise, which is all everyone ever looks at. But the run defense, like you said, we struggle with it, and he's easily one of our better run defenders. And he just has those flashes, like just put it together for a season, man, and you're going to get to the level you want to be at.
Yeah. Well, and it's as you said, like we tried to address that in the offseason, and I think that's where he he was a victim of it. Where like he was our best pass rusher, right? And so he got a lot of double teams. And so it's if the rest of the D line pulls their weight, I think it'll free up a lot more one-on-ones for him.
Yeah, and that's what the Bills do, how they cycle players through, might be the best thing for like Bosa when you think about like he's been injury prone.
I forgot about Bosa.
He's being asked to probably play way more than he's going to in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. If he just takes the Von Miller role, I think he'll be like Bosa showed last year that he still has it when he's healthy.
Yeah.
So if he's in the Von Miller role and we get double the amount of sacks out of that position, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, 25 snaps a game, right? 25, 30 snaps a game, for which, I mean, let's be frank, he's getting $13 million. Yeah. So playing part-time, getting $13 million, I mean, he could do worse.
Yeah, and then I think the last one I'll talk about is if Bass retired at this point in the year. I'm not saying you can't replace him, but we got through his struggles. He turned it around. You and I have discussed this on here. But if he retired now, they'd be screwed because there's not a good kicker out there right now. And he knows how to kick in Buffalo, which that's not easy to do with the wind, the snow, all of that stuff going on.
Sure.
So he's one that's not on offense or defense. But if he decided to retire right now, that would not be good news for the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, but let's be honest. I'm hoping that he brings that confidence that he ended last year with. I'm hoping that's still there because he very much is a confidence kicker. Hey, DJ.
DJ, welcome in. Good to see you, Ben.
And so if he starts missing a couple easy ones, I don't know, maybe this is just the long history of being a Bills fan and just leaving it up to kickers, the recent past and the long time ago. But if he misses one, like a 40-yarder, it's like instantly my confidence goes. It just takes one miss, and I've got no more faith. But yeah, after he nailed that 61-yarder against Miami, I was like, all right, he's back. So if he can hold on to that confidence, then
and those kicks he made against the Ravens, like that wasn't good weather conditions. He was nailing like that 50-yarder that put him up towards the end. Like showed that he's back. DJ, if you are just joining us, we're talking about Bills players who, if they retired, kind of like Ragnow did for the Lions, who would hurt the most. So do you have anybody in your mind, DJ, that you think might be, hey, the Bills would kind of be screwed if he retired? We'll keep going, but if you chime in, we'll give our thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Josh, but
we skip Josh because we don't have to do any study or thought on that one.
If Josh retired, if Josh wasn't available, I think we win 4 games.
Yeah, if that.
That's twice, and still probably
because then everyone would be like, all right, we don't got to worry about the pass as much. We're going to stop cooking them.
Yeah.
Then nobody's eating on the passing game, and there we go.
Yeah, and I legit think Josh accounts for like 10 wins a year.
Yeah. And that's why he was MVP. You go look at the Ravens roster, go look at the Bills roster, and anybody tell me how Josh doesn't have as much help. But moving on, our second topic of the evening is the New York Knicks made the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a couple decades, and they fired their coach. Their most successful season this century. So we wanted to talk about McDermott. Should the Bills give that type of treatment? Should this season be that for McDermott of get to the Super Bowl, you're gone, no matter what you've done? Milano, yep, DJ, that's Dr. Dungan's first defensive answer, so right in line there. But do you think the Bills should have that mentality going? They're not going to announce it, obviously, but internally, should that be the expectation of, this is it, Sean, you got to get us there, or we got to find someone who will?
Super. I mean, it's tough because it's just like, I want to say yes, but then I also think of, okay, well, then who would you get that's better? right? Who would we get? And because I mean, as a Bills fan, I mean, there's at least 2 losses in the playoffs that we can land square at his feet. And it's just like, as a coach, that can't happen. But on the flip side, and again, a lot of it's Josh, but we had so much success under him that to say it's Super Bowl or bust is wild to me. So, like, as a fan, I want to say yes. As a fan, I want to say, Sean, if you don't get us to the Super Bowl, barring some major injury to Josh or Dion or Millard, just some major thing outside of your control, you're gone. I want to say that, but then the realist is, it's just like, well, dang, man, like, if you're constantly at the top of your field, constantly, you're beloved by most fans like him. I like him as a guy. I think he's an awesome person.
Mm-hmm.
His team loves him. So it's just like, is that what you're really going to do? Are you going to cut ties with the dude who's the second most successful coach in your history and the one who's loved by the team and by the fans? Are you really going to get rid of that guy? So, final answer, no. I think as long as we make it back to the AFC, as much as this sucks to say, but as long as we make it back to the AFC championship game or don't have some embarrassing loss in the playoffs, all right. Now, if you miss the playoffs or say we get bounced handily in the first round, all right, maybe it's time for a change. But if it's another heartbreaker in the AFC championship game to Baltimore or something, all right, they're a damn good team.
Yeah, and then that would be Josh again. If Baltimore makes it, Josh would be again the only one out of that group to not have made a Super Bowl. I'm in the opposite camp. I don't want to be the Marvin Lewis Bengals of, we're in the playoffs, but we never get anywhere. We're just we're a historically terrible team, so we're going to just keep riding with this because we're afraid to change it. The Bills have won the most games in this stretch of time without making a Super Bowl in NFL history. This 5-year stretch of time, as great as it's been, historically, not a single team in the NFL history has not at least made the Super Bowl once, or whatever the title game during that era would have been called. Like, if we're historically doing that, there's got to be something why are we the only one that hasn't done? I think McDermott should have been fired after 13 seconds. Especially after what came out about how that was handled, about miscommunication, not things being communicated, all of that nonsense. Yeah. I don't want to 7 years from now look back and be like, man, like, this was it, and we don't ever do it. I'd rather go for broke. I'd rather go for bust. Because as you said, it's Josh.
But then who are you going to get? You going to go and pull Bill from UNC?
I go get somebody to either
give me a name. Don't just give me who would you get?
I'd bring in Belichick. His defense at least does stuff. I would have loved to get Vrabel personally.
Same.
Vrabel would have been like he would have brought the Bills where they needed to go. But McDermott, everyone says he'd become more personable. Sure, he's a great guy by all accounts. I don't care. I want to get to the Super Bowl because look at the Bills' history. Once Josh is done, it's probably going to be another 15, 20-year period of being awful again. That's what the Bills do. They have these stretches of time where they're really good, and then they're really terrible the other times throughout their history. Yeah. DJ's with me. Super Bowl or bust.
All right, DJ. Right. Well, then who? Then who do we get? Because it's easy to say we fire a guy, but if you don't have a solution, are we going to try to lure Mike McDaniels away? You really think a 72-year-old Bill Belichick, our flipping nemesis, who already has a better winning record at Bills Stadium than any person in like Bills history? I think. I know Tom does, but Bill probably also does too. Like, who are you gonna go get?
Trade for Sean McVay.
Sure, okay, but
do what Tampa did. Like Tampa was really good with Tony. Look how great Tony Dungy was. Brought him to NFC Championship game. They lost to the greatest show on turf, 12-7. But they realized that's not good enough. They traded for Gruden and won a Super Bowl. So, and Dungy is one. I think Dungy and McDermott are like the exact same person. Great guys, like they're defensive guys, they're culture guys. And it took Dungy how long? And he had to get essentially fired, and he got it with Peyton. So I would be okay with that type of swing. Go trade for a Sean McVay. Give a couple years of really high picks because he's proven what he can do with lesser talent.
What about
again, this is all like, get us there, Sean. Like, I want Sean to succeed, but I can't do another year of we lose again in the championship and then go through another offseason of, well, we're almost there.
So you think about a coach who I think is on the hot seat, but I also think is a really good coach, and I forget his name, but the Browns head coach.
Oh, Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good.
Like, if we were to move on from Sean, I'd want a guy that I could, actually I could believe in, right? Stefanski, I think, is a good coach. But there's just not many out there. But ultimately, isn't he an offensive guy?
He is.
That's what most of these dudes are. And let's be frank, the offense is not the problem.
No.
So unless you're planning on scoring 50 points a game, for which Josh could do it.
Josh could do it with an offensive mind like McVay. He could do it.
Yeah.
But it just like, I applaud the Knicks for being like, I don't think this guy's going to take us where we go after the most successful year in like 25 years for them. And they fired it. Like, I don't ever see the Bills doing that type of move.
Dolan's the worst, though. He's the worst owner in the NBA by far.
He's terrible. So DJ says if you go the college out, Kirby Smart from Georgia. Yeah, if they get to the Super Bowl, DJ, I'm like, this is not getting this. It's Super Bowl or bust for me for him.
Yeah.
If they get there and lose, like, that's just a one game thing. But at least get there and get a chance.
I like Kirby Smart.
Yeah. And he's built it.
But
I can't think of who's the last successful college coach.
That's like I love Georgia. I think Kirby Smart's like, if I was to pick a coach from college, it'd be that. But then it's exactly what you just said, Foster, in terms of you look at like who's come into the pros and been successful from college.
Been a hot minute.
I'm trying to think. I mean, like it took Pete Carroll a little bit. I mean,
he got fired from the Jets before he had any success with the Patriots.
Yeah, it's just such a different beast.
Yeah, and I think all the coaches you would find to be in a whole different era of football than we do now. Urban Meyer, who is arguably right up there, like below Saban in terms of best coaches of his generation, absolute failure in the NFL.
Yeah,
Matt Rule had how much success in college, came there and sucked. Chip Kelly had that 1 year of playoff, right? Chip Kelly, and then he's been nothing since.
Yeah, I tell you, I like Lane Kiffin too.
I'd be okay with Lane Kiffin. He has NFL experience of what it's like to run a show.
And he runs a pro-style offense.
Yes. That would be in a college. I would be okay with that type of swing. Let's say the Bills lose in the wild card round and we fire him. I'd be okay with a swing like Lane Kiffin.
Sure. Oh my gosh, that would be the worst. Could you imagine? Like losing at home in the wild card? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's why getting the number one seed is really important.
Yeah, because at least we can lose in the divisional round. I mean,
right. Yeah, we're guaranteed to be in the divisional round. But if you make the divisional round, you're almost guaranteed to play a juggernaut team now.
Yeah.
Well,
in the AFC, yeah, because it's so stacked. Yes.
Like, if you have the Final Four, Baltimore, Kansas City, us, and Cincinnati,
or Houston.
Two great quarterbacks are going to be gone then.
And I think that's a feather in McDermott's cap. If he makes it to the AFC Championship game through the gauntlet that is the AFC, through where all of the best quarterbacks are, like literally – the best NFC quarterback is probably Matthew Stafford, a 37, 38-year-old, and then Jared Goff, and then Jalen Hurts. Dak Prescott is, but like none of them strike fear. But the AFC, it's just like shit. You got, Burrow, Mahomes, Jackson, and
you got CJ Stroud up and coming.
Yeah.
No,
and
it's very easily
Nick Wright. You got Trevor Lawrence too.
Yeah. So DJ says Bobby Slowick, Texans offensive coordinator. Well, this is all like if McDermott does what he's supposed to do, it's all moot. Do your job.
Do your job. DJ,
the fact that his side of the ball is what consistently fails is the problem to me.
Well, and that's why I want to ask DJ, what do you think about hiring Bill Belichick? Because I'll give him one thing, right? Like Bill, I think he got lucky. Bill got lucky with Tom, but his defenses have been good no matter who he's had.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how do you feel about hiring Bill Belichick? Like, because I want the team to win, but I don't want that old scumbag to like put on a Bills hoodie and chop the arms off and have his teenage girlfriend on the sideline.
Yeah, it's funny. The Athletic wrote an article about they interviewed old Bills players who just during the time where Belichick destroyed us, and they're like, "This is not the guy that we consistently like." They're wondering, like, the story was essentially, "How do you feel about Belichick now with everything that's going on with his girlfriend and stuff?" And like, who is this guy? So like, even old Bills players like, I'm not sure that this is the version of Bill anybody wants.
Yeah, because he's an old man. He's a grandpa, right?
Oh, he's an old man.
Yeah,
but it's just more of the defense. I would have more faith in him beginning a game plan to stop Mahomes. The Eagles in one game in the Super Bowl got more stops than the Bills defense have in 3 playoff games against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Let's be honest, their defense is absolutely stacked. Like, I give what is Howie Roseman? Is that their GM?
I believe so. Yeah, Roseman.
Yeah, like that dude is a Hall of Famer. Like, he has built an absolute juggernaut.
Oh yeah, and they do a smart. Like Jalen Carter was drafted, then the next year he was expected to step up. So that they plan ahead.
Mm-hmm. But just trading for AJ Brown and getting Saquon Barkley and just making these like for crazy trades that like I feel like they get for pennies in the dollar.
Yeah. Now he's easily the best, I think, roster builder. He finds everywhere to get him.
Yeah.
But so we differ there. You think AFC Championship game is enough for McDermott. I think he's got to make the Super Bowl. I cannot do another championship game loss to Patrick Mahomes.
Well, what if it's
especially if it's the defense that just craps the bed again.
Well, what if they lose to somebody else?
To who?
To Lamar or Burrow or
Lamar has to prove he can do something in the playoffs against.
I'm just saying, like what if we lose?
DJ says no, not Bill Belichick.
Yeah, no, and I agree 100%. I wouldn't want Bill Belichick, period. Like, I don't care what he brings. Like to me, that's the same as like when Josh Jacobs was saying that there's no way he was going to go play for the Chiefs. Yeah, you gosh darn right you're not gonna. And there's no way we hire our enemy as our coach. No way.
I'm pretty sure if the Chiefs had been the one that offered the most money, I'm pretty sure Josh Jacobs would have swallowed that up.
Nope. He stands on business, Lawrence. He's got pride. He's got.
So you're saying Thurman Thomas doesn't stand on business when he went to go play for the Dolphins?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Thurman, if you're hearing this, Dr. Dungan's calling you out.
I am. Like, how you gonna go to a division rival for like your last season? Come on, man.
But he is notorious for blocking people and muting people on social media. So if you follow him, you might be blocked at this point.
Oh, our third thoughts, yeah. Oh no, please, Thurman.
So DJ's with you on no Bill Belichick. Bills had defense they would have won. If the Bills would have stopped 13 seconds from happening, they would have won a championship.
Yeah.
The one playoff thing I don't blame McDermott for is the Bengals loss, just because of everything that happened with Hamlin. Like they were not the same Bills team.
Yeah, we got.
That's the only one that I don't have. Like, I thought he handled that whole Hamlin thing like as good as he could have. Like with how he we're not going out, like all of that. But aside from that,
how about the Houston Texans one, right? And 2019,
or having Hamlin run a fake punt instead of Josh Allen in the divisional round loss to the Chiefs at home.
Yeah.
The one home playoff game we got against them.
Then
not the greatest. So, DJ, we appreciate you stopping in, hanging out with us today. If you're listening to this after the fact on either YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, you too can be like DJ. If you want to follow us, go ahead to our YouTube page, like and follow us. You can get in on the chat during our podcast. We'd love to talk to you. While we're talking a little bit of sports, this is still Bills, but quickly, thoughts. Thunder champions.
I think they're the weakest champion, and this isn't a hot take. This is a very common take. They're the weakest. I mean, either one, the weakest champions in decades, right? I think SGA's game is garbage. He's captain push-off that doesn't get called. I didn't watch.
He shot like 8 of 27 today. I think.
If Hubbard doesn't go down, I'm not saying it's a different outcome, but it's a lot closer than what it was. So, okay, good for the city of Oklahoma, city of Oklahoma. Good for Oklahoma City. It would be awesome if the Bills won a title, but you take, I think, any other champion since 2000, and they beat this team in 5 or 6 games.
DJ McDermott. So he changed McDermott's name to McDermott. I've not heard that one. I've heard him called Egghead. We are on generally Sunday nights, but everything is posted on our YouTube page. Once football starts, we might change the live to go, like if the Bills play on Monday night, and our live might go to after that game that week. But during the off season, we've been doing Sunday night lives, and we post it the following day. OKC was win-wise the best team throughout the season, but they're an ugly brand of basketball to watch.
Yes.
I watched pretty much the whole finals, and just like you said, SGA is he's like Allen Iverson in terms of the ball dies so often with him. And he's taking shots, what are you doing? And he's trying to draw things instead of just doing what he's supposed to do. And then the other big news from today, it's again not Bills related, Durant getting traded to the Rockets.
Cool. So the Rockets will make the playoffs, lose in the first round, but instead of scoring 90 points a game, they'll score 95.
I think KD is one of the most overrated players in history in terms of he doesn't elevate anybody around him.
And there's so much data for it.
The only thing he's ever won was with an established dynasty that needed a little boost.
They didn't even need him though, right? He needed them way more than they needed him.
I think they needed, because that was after they lost? Yeah, I think it's after they had that collapse against the Cavs where they signed him. All right, we can't have that happen again. That's what I meant by I think they felt they needed him, was coming off that loss to the Cavs.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do anything. The Rockets aren't going to go anywhere. I think the Suns will be way better off with what they got back in return and what they're going to get in the future with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Booker is going to be back to being what he was without having to have Durant on the roster with him.
Sure.
He digressed. Who digresses playing with LeBron, who's a star?
Nobody.
Because LeBron elevates the people around him. But anyway, that's just a little extra on this Sunday night. We are SSBills Talk. We'll be back next week with a new topic, new desires, new everything. DJ, we hope to see you again. Everyone else, come on in, hang out with us. We always close our show by saying the one thing we all should say.
Go Bills.